This is Face the State for Sunday, September 7th, as the budget battle stretches to almost 70 days. While there is a shortage of funding, there's no shortage of finger pointing. But we have a former teacher with a different perspective on who's really to blame. Can you still get the vaccines you want if the CDC is no longer recommending them? That answer's coming up. And it takes just 2 more Republican votes to release more Epstein files. We have 2 in our area, of course, even more than that. But what will their decision be? You'll hear from one about why he made his decision. Thanks for deciding to be with us on Face the State right now.
CBS 21 News presents Face the State with Joel D. Smith, a look at the issues and politics that shape Pennsylvania.
Thanks for being here. My first guest this morning is a former teacher, a Republican representing York County. It is Representative Mark Anderson. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
I talked to you a little bit ago when you were on the show, and you were like, yeah, this budget might be challenging. We'll get there. And look
Right.
where we are now.
Absolutely.
Take me inside now. This is new to you.
Mm-hmm.
What's the sticking point? What is the problem when you're like, I know what our numbers are. They know we could just get together on this, but it's not that simple. What's going on?
Well, it's brand new to me, as you said.
Yeah.
And, you know, my family has had some small businesses, a restaurant that my grandmother owned and some farms. And I see this as no different. It's just more numbers.
Yeah.
I see it no different than your individual family. How do you run your family budget? And I guess I look at it more simply because I'm new to this. Last November, I'm still in the classroom. So I'm trying to, as we go through this, figure out, okay, what are the accurate numbers and then what do we do with them?
Okay, you make sense. The problem is maybe it's not political sense. Is that part of this? You've seen the process from the inside now. Is it really a political thing?
It is and it isn't. I mean, I understand. I've gotten to understand the political side of it, but it's also just simple arithmetic. And I look at it as we cannot sustain our future and we cannot give our kids opportunity if we go into debt. So I look at the numbers provided by the IFO, which is the independent organization, provides us with the numbers. Mm-hmm. And over the last 3 years, we have spent over and above what we have. This year, it's 7.5% increase, and that's not a sustainable thing. So for me personally, I don't want to speak for everybody else, but for me personally, you spend within your means, and you can't keep spending over and above. And the argument has been, what I've heard, we have a surplus, we have a rainy day fund. Right. That's $11 billion. We could cover the increase in what's being asked for. That's
exactly what Democrats say and what they want, and it's been used in the past. You know that.
Right. Absolutely. Yep.
However,
the problem is you can't continue to use that surplus, and I don't trust that we're not going to raise it next year and the year after, because the past 3 years we have. Okay. So if we give the governor what he has proposed, what the Democrats are proposing, our surplus is gone. Our general fund surplus. Okay, $4 million's out.
Let's accept your argument here, and I know the numbers are correct with that. Mm-hmm. So to get back to your numbers, which may be a flat number from last year,
sure.
What are you cutting from what is in the governor's version that he wants and all of those things he thinks that the people of Pennsylvania need?
Well, remember that the budget is hundreds, thousands of pages, which you would cut. What we do in Harrisburg, which is different, if you spend the same, that's not a cut. It's not an increase, but it's not a cut. So,
well, costs go up though every year.
Sure,
we all know that in our families
absolutely.
As well. Yeah.
So you'd have to go through the budget and look at where you can balance it. You're going to have to make tough choices. Sure. If you're a family, you have to make tough choices. And sometimes you can't afford even things that are well-intended. I asked some of my colleagues this simple question. Okay, you make $100,000 a year, $106,000 a year. Would you spend $120,000 a year on good causes? Nobody has answered that.
Even if they're good causes.
Even if they're good causes. So and I say, why? Well, I don't have that much to spend. Well, this is the exact same thing. We do not have that money to spend.
But it is tempting when you know that money exists. And so if that money were in your savings account or some 401k, which people do dip into, it does happen, but fiscally that catches up to you. I hear what you're saying.
Correct.
Let's get to the numbers here also.
Sure.
69 days late, school districts, one of the first groups that starts to feel the pain here.
Absolutely.
You know how this goes. Some are taking out lines of credit. You don't get that back without interest. So it affects folks. The teachers union, they blame the Republicans for this, especially in the Senate, for not getting the job done. You're a Republican. You were most recently a former teacher just a couple years ago. So how do you see who is to blame if there really is one group to blame?
Okay. I would say, first of all, I would say there's not one group to blame.
Okay.
I always remind people that the teachers union are not non-political. They don't always even represent the teachers. They are a political entity.
You were a member though, right?
I was not a member. I was a member for 2 years in my career.
Okay.
And because they were such a political entity is why I wasn't a member of the teachers union.
Right.
They give 90% of their money to Democrats.
Yes.
Okay. They're not bipartisan. So I don't really, be honest with you, pay attention as much to what the teachers union says.
Because it's predictable.
Absolutely.
To a certain extent.
100%
Yeah.
predictable.
Yeah.
I would say the biggest problem is nobody gets in a room and sits down and negotiates this.
Can you call it? Can you call that? Say, hey guys, I'm going to set up this room. Let's all get together.
100%. I mean, I would love to if I had the power to do so.
The power.
But we go out of session.
Yeah.
The governor wants to run for president. That's not a secret.
Right.
So he's traversing the country,
Okay.
going on late night, doing those things. And if we're not in session, the Senate and the House, there's nobody there to negotiate. Everybody's gone.
So you believe a lot of it is political. Let's get to this.
Sure.
What's your message to your former students? You probably have some students that are still out there. It's only been a couple years. They look at this. They see the struggle. They see that you guys can't get along. You said you were going to go there and get things done. I mean, what do you tell the students that might be losing some programs that they really enjoy because of this?
It's very simple. Very simple. I do the same thing I did for 27 years, and that is instill in kids responsibility.
Okay.
So it's not for them. The lesson is not a simple bottom line. Certainly that's what we're getting to when we're dealing with the numbers. But the lesson for students is simply this. You live your life responsibly. As an elected official, I'm supposed to live my life responsibly. What is one of those responsibilities? I don't spend other people's money over and above what we're taking in revenue. We're not creating growth. If we just created growth, if we became competitive.
You know, they have options for growth that the Republicans don't really like.
Oh,
it's
sure.
It's the marijuana, it's the skill games.
Okay, well, see, I have a philosophical issue with funding good things with destructive behaviors.
Okay, I'll let you made your point on that. I don't have all the time for that.
Sure.
Last question for you.
Sure.
Should lawmakers be paid when the budget is not done?
Absolutely not. I would have no problem whatsoever if all got paid. Now, I will say this. There are people in the legislature who are independently wealthy.
Yeah.
It's much easier for them to say, yeah, don't pay me.
Right.
Okay? But we're not doing our job. And of course, we're going to sit and blame each other. And obviously, the people that are at the top are often have the most means.
Yeah.
So it has to be something that is going to affect or even hurt those people that are in
enough
the room
people where it would
Yes.
matter.
Because
And
the
maybe not get the money back
Right.
either. Not like put over here and you get it back
Absolutely.
later, but you lose out every week that you're not doing this.
Because the reality is the rank and file are not negotiating this. This is a handful of people. We vote on it.
Yeah, all right. But hey, we understand a little bit better, even if we're not closer to getting there. But thanks for coming back to the show.
All right, thank you so much.
Good to see you.
I appreciate it.
All right, folks. So this week, one of the controversies we've been dealing with is what's really happening with vaccines. Are they not recommended? And if that's the case, what does it mean if you still want one? You're making your own decision. We're talking about that and how you can still get one for your family if something changes in the state. Stick around. Welcome back. My next guest, a doctor, a Democratic representative from Allegheny County. He's working on some legislation to keep certain vaccines available in PA at the pharmacies. It is Representative Arvind Venkat. Thanks for being on the show. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Joel. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about the pharmacies and the vaccines in a second. But you just heard my last guest. Are you thinking if I get you and him in a room and you guys could figure out this budget and come out and say, folks, this is what we're doing?
You know, I wish it were that simple. I think there's a lot of disagreements that are still out there. From my perspective, the three most important things we need to focus on are public education funding, Medicaid, and public transportation funding. And clearly there are disagreements on that, but I hope that we can move forward soon.
On a side note, I know this is an important topic to you. Let's talk about this bill that would allow pharmacies to still provide vaccines based on recommendations from state authorities, even if there's no federal recommendation from the CDC anymore. And we really saw this topic come up this week. It was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's testifying before the U.S. Senate. It got contentious at times. He was saying, we're not recommending these, but people can still get them. Why might that be a challenge, actually?
So there's actually two problems and why I have two pieces of legislation with colleagues in the legislature. The first is that for pharmacies in Pennsylvania and pharmacists in Pennsylvania to dispense vaccines, it needs to be recommended by a competent authority. Our laws speak of the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices in the CDC. That has been guided by Secretary Kennedy. And so our State Board of Pharmacy took action this week, but we still need legislation to recognize that we need state-based public health authorities to be able to make recommendations in this regard. The other part is insurance companies cover vaccines without patient costs based on recommendations from the same committee under the Affordable Care Act. If we don't change the law here in Pennsylvania to bring those regulations under insurance back to our state, the cost for vaccines would be put on to individuals. And so I have legislation again with colleagues in order to make sure that insurance coverage remains in place.
Let's get into this a little bit with what we saw during this hearing. It was Senator Elizabeth Warren challenging RFK Jr. on it.
It's not recommended for healthy people.
No. If you don't recommend, then the consequence of that in many states is that you can't walk into a pharmacy and get one. It means insurance companies don't have to cover the $200 or so cost. As Senator Dr. Cassidy said, you are effectively denying people vaccines.
We're not going to recommend a product for which there's no clinical data for that indication. Is that what I should be doing?
I want to get your reaction to this in a sense. You already talked about it a little bit, but is $200 about right? Is that what it would be if it was out of pocket for somebody who still wants to get the COVID vaccine, as an example?
Yeah, that's about right. The cost of the product itself plus the cost of administration, I would say that $200 is correct. And I would, my reaction to that clip is Secretary Kennedy is speaking nonsense. There is lots of evidence, both from the scientific literature as well as our own real world experience with the COVID vaccines, to say that they are highly beneficial, protective against severe illness and death, which is what we obviously hope for out of a vaccine, and that healthy people who don't have other medical conditions would benefit from it. And Senator Warren is absolutely correct when she says that when Secretary Kennedy doesn't allow government scientists to follow the scientific data on recommendations, it has consequences like it did in Pennsylvania until our State Board of Pharmacy acted, but we still need to do more.
So the bill that you have, would it be enough for health insurance companies to cover it?
Yes. So House Bill 1828 is the bill number. We've introduced it. It's in the Insurance Committee. I'm introducing it with two other health professional colleagues who are legislators, Representative Khan and Representative Kozarowski. It would ensure that insurance companies that are operating in our state with health insurance policies that are regulated by the state, that vaccines would continue to be covered based on the recommendations of our Department of Health. And our Department of Health could seek the guidance of professional medical societies like the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, for the scientific basis for those recommendations. And so, answer to your question is, this is a way to protect Pennsylvanians and to make sure that the benefits of vaccines are still widely available.
But you did say there's going to be some opinions based here, and you said that they're well researched as to what would be recommended and for whom. So that part of it, has been made political by some, and there are studies out there that say healthy young people in particular really do not need this vaccine.
Yeah, so I will preface this by saying I'm not a vaccine and immunology specialist. I'm an ER doc.
Yeah.
But this is like what happens when we're talking about climate change, when people say, oh, there's a debate. There is no real debate within the medical and scientific community about the benefits of vaccines. Those individuals who are putting forward studies that have largely been discredited to say that the COVID vaccine does not have benefit for healthy people or is somehow risky for healthy people has simply not been borne out in multiple studies in multiple countries, including the United States. What is often brought up is that vaccines can have side effects. They absolutely can have side effects. But what we need to recognize is that the benefits from vaccines, including the COVID vaccine, is far higher than the risks. And
well, the bottom line either way is you want to give people the option. And this is not a mandate. And so it's people who believe that this would be helpful. And the recommendation is they could have access without having to pay out of pocket. That's the bottom line, right?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
There's nothing in this bill or the pharmacy bill that I'm planning to propose that is a vaccine mandate. As an ER doc, I certainly encourage everyone to be vaccinated unless they have a medical contraindication. Right. But you're absolutely correct. This is not a mandate. This is preserving personal choice and preserving access and insurance coverage that we take for granted at the moment, which is at risk.
It's what a lot of people want is options, and they can make the best option for their family and themselves based on the information that they're taking in. And so options seem to be something we can all agree on, and we'll see where your bill goes from here. Thanks for being on today on Face the State.
Thank you, Joel. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, our political insiders are standing by to talk about this, the Epstein files. Just need 2 more people to vote for this. Is one of those in our area? You'll hear about that coming up as well. And where's the Department of Defense? Looks like it could be gone. Here it is, my favorite time of the week. Our political insiders are here. Democratic strategist Tony Laporte, Republican strategist Kevin Harley, and I want to get right to the stuff we're talking about with the Epstein files, okay? So we're going to make history on Face the State. This Democrat over here is about to agree with, how about Marjorie Taylor Greene?
That would be
You have never seen them together on the same topic, but I think it's about to happen. The major push this week was to release the so-called Epstein files, or at least more of them. 4 Republicans, including Greene, standing right there saying, let's do this, joining all the Democrats to force a discharge petition to release more files. But they need 2 more Republicans to make it happen. We got a lot of Republicans in our area who are Congress members, right? We asked them, what do you think? Are you going to do this? Most did not respond. But we did ask specifically Representative Lloyd Smucker.
And he's released, I think, over 33,000 documents just during this past week. So I think, again, it has to be done carefully, but I fully support transparency. Anyone who has participated in these kinds of heinous crimes against these women should be held accountable, and there should be transparency around what has happened. Having said that, there are many women who may not want to have this brought back up for one reason or another. They may not want to relive it.
Let's paraphrase here. He says he is not going to vote for it, but he does believe in transparency, and he says that there's enough out there so far we can evaluate. If it goes further than that, then we don't want some victims necessarily to be affected by this. So what do you think?
Well, I think that's nonsense. The victims want transparency. They want honesty. It's the only way that we're going to put an end to this, one way or another, is to release them, lay it out there for America to see. Let's do it now and move past it so Donald Trump can stop doing the rest of this nonsense he's doing to hide these.
Okay.
I don't think Donald Trump's doing anything to hide it. The Justice Department released, as Congressman Smucker said, I think 33,000 pages this week. And I think, as I understand, they're going to release up to 100,000 pages altogether. But I do think, Tony, you would agree that some victims' names may need to be redacted, or if somebody just was on a phone call innocently with a financial investor, that their name should be redacted.
But they've redacted already. They can do this like that.
And let's remember, it was the Donald Trump Justice Department in his first term that brought the charges and convicted Jeffrey Epstein. And you had 4 years
That's the part that I don't understand about
Biden.
this.
So if there was anything nefarious with Donald Trump, I'm sure we would have known about it.
Here's my own 2 cents on this, which means nothing. But the Biden administration had control of these for a while. If there was something unbelievable in there, you'd think they would have come forward. The Trump administration, they run on this, and then all of a sudden when they get in, they stop. So what is the piece of material that they agree on, the Biden administration, now the Trump administration, that it should not go out? I don't understand what it is, but that's what I want to know. Let's go to this. As of tomorrow, Monday, the state budget goes to 70 days late. And now more county commissioners are saying we need action. How about the Lancaster County Commissioners? A new resolution. It says we need this done fast. It's delaying significantly. It's affecting everything. What are you hearing about this? What kind of progress are we really getting at?
Let's say if I'm a betting man, I think we get this budget done in September. I think there'll be, in the next couple weeks, I think we'll be talking about a passed budget.
What do you say?
I think if the governor decides to finally show some leadership and act as a governor as opposed to a presidential candidate, then and sits down and negotiates and compromises, which is what you have to do in a budget, then I think we will get it done.
Has he been around enough?
Yeah, just last week he was there literally every day holding hands with the legislature.
Well, he's got to take their hands, put pens in their hands, and get to the next level of
well,
that.
maybe next year he will introduce a realistic budget as opposed to pie in the sky and then stick to it.
It's still a compromise at some point, and it's not getting there yet. Well, what do you think about this? The 200th executive order, speaking of signing things, is a throwback. It's the renaming of the Department of Defense to the Department of War. Now, remember, the U.S. used to have the Department of War until it changed in 1949, so it was a throwback. Congress technically will need to approve this, but what do we think of changing the name?
Hey, I'm all for it. I've been all for changing it. They should have never changed it to begin with. I mean, they did it to combine the Department of the Army and the Department of the Navy, but after World War II. But listen, as an Army vet, when you're in training, you're trained to go to war, to be a war fighter. That is what it should be about.
I think it was named Department of War after we dropped the bomb to show the horrible effects of war. And I think that Donald Trump naming this just shows that he just wants to show that he's the man and he's going to get what he wants and he's going to bomb and
pretty much
kill people left and right. I think it's crazy.
This next topic could be really interesting. The Department of Justice looking at ways to ban transgender Americans from owning guns. Now, the goal, they say, is to ensure that mentally ill individuals suffering from gender dysphoria are unable to obtain firearms while they're unstable or unwell. Now, the federal law requires a judge to declare a person mentally defective before being stripped of their rights to own a firearm. Is this a slippery slope for the firearm industry to go down, or something that needs to be done for safety's sake?
I believe it is a slippery slope to go down. I mean, the Second Amendment is very clear. I think you should have to go through the process of having a judge say that you're mentally unstable before you're denied your constitutional right to own a weapon.
I can't believe all the national Republicans want to take our guns away. It's unbelievable. They've been blaming the Democrats all these years, and they're the ones that are going to take our guns away.
Well, I can't believe the Democrats aren't for this because they want to take everybody's guns away.
See, we found something they agree on. These guys agree, and he agreed with Marjorie Taylor Greene. What a day we have here at Face the
living with
State.
dogs.
I'm not sure what else I can add to this, but we'll try. Stick around. And welcome back to The Price is Right. What will the final budget number be?
49-1.
49.1. That's pretty high for the Republicans saying that. What
yeah,
do you
he
say?
kind of stole my number. I'm going to go with 50.1.
They're going to get to 50
They're going to get
after
to
all
50.
this?
That's the
That
magic
is not
number.
much
They won't get to
negotiation
it.
coming from your side. Wow. All right, folks. Pick your own number at home. Send them in. We'll see who's right. And when will it be right? That's a whole different problem. We'll see you next week, everybody.